Courses are designed to give you formulas, quick, easy to digest templates. But books give you principles, and believe me, that one little distinction makes all the difference in the world. All right, here's the dirty little secret most online courses don't want you to know. To make their content feel super simple and easy, they have to cut out the most important parts. They give you the what, but they almost never give you the why. So you get the tactic, but you're missing the context, the deep psychology behind it, or any of the actual data that proves it works. And this is the biggest flaw of learning from templates alone. What happens when your situation doesn't perfectly fit the mold? You're stuck. That's what happens. But books teach you how to think, not just what to do. They give you the mental models you need to adapt and really thrive in any situation. Okay, enough about that. Let's get to the good stuff. The books themselves. We're going to start with the big ones, the foundational principles that will teach you to think like an absolute master of persuasion before you even type a single word. First up, we have a legend, Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz. This book is so sought after that a used copy can sell for hundreds, sometimes even thousands of dollars. But the ideas inside are worth their weight in gold. Seriously. This is the book that has probably created more millionaire copywriters than any other. So what's the $1,000,000 idea? It's this. You can't just force your message on people. It will never work. You have to meet them exactly where they are. It's all about entering the conversation already happening inside their head. Schwartz gives us an incredibly simple but powerful framework for understanding your audience. Are they totally unaware of the problem you solve, or are they already shopping for a solution? Your message must be perfectly tailored to their level of awareness. Get this wrong, and you are dead in the water. Game over. Next up, the Robert Collier letter book. Think about this for a moment. Robert Collier wrote sales letters so insanely profitable that they ran for decades. Not months, not years, but decades. That isn't just clever writing. That is a deep, fundamental understanding of what makes people tick. His secret sauce was simple. Don't start with your product, and don't start with your company. You must start with the conversation, the worry, the hope, the desire that is already consuming your reader's thoughts. You have to enter their world first. Okay, so we've covered high-level strategy. Now we're going deeper. We're diving into the psychology of yes, why people really make the decisions they do. And get this, the next book won a Nobel Prize. It's not technically a marketing book, but it's essential. Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman is a masterclass, a deep dive into the quirks of the human mind. If you want to persuade people, you absolutely must understand how their brains are wired. Kahneman shows us that our minds basically operate with two systems. System 1 is fast, emotional, automatic, your autopilot. System 2 is slow, logical, and deliberate, the pilot. Guess which system makes most buying decisions? Yep, the autopilot. Your job as a copywriter is to speak to that autopilot first and then give the pilot a solid reason to agree. Now that we understand the two systems, let's look at the specific psychological triggers that influence decisions. That brings us to Influence by Robert Cialdini. This man dedicated his life to answering one question. What makes people say yes? Cialdini identified 7 universal weapons of influence, things like social proof and scarcity. You've heard of them, sure, but here's what courses miss. It's not just about using these tactics. It's about understanding the psychology behind them. For example, a testimonial from a stay-at-home mom in Ohio will be infinitely more persuasive to other stay-at-home moms in Ohio than one from a Silicon Valley CEO. It's all about context. Next on the list is Predictably Irrational by Dan Ariely. The title says it all. We love to believe we're logical, but Ariely proves through brilliant experiments that not only are we irrational, but we're irrational in predictable ways. And those patterns can be understood and used. His famous example is the decoy effect. If the only option you see is a $2,000 product, you have no idea if it's a good deal. But add a cheaper option and a much more expensive one, and suddenly the $2,000 choice becomes the just right Goldilocks option. We are wired to think in comparisons, not absolutes. All right, so we've covered strategy and psychology. But how do you actually know if any of this is working? That's the $1,000,000 question. It brings us to the absolute importance of data over opinions. This is where Scientific Advertising by Claude Hopkins comes in. Written over 100 years ago, it's somehow more relevant today than ever. Hopkins' core argument is simple. Advertising is just salesmanship in print, and if you can't measure it, you're guessing, you're gambling with money. Which leads us perfectly into our final book, Tested Advertising Methods by John Caples. Caples wrote one of the most famous headlines of all time. They laughed when I sat down at the piano, but when I started to play, his secret wasn't magic, it was math. He tested everything. Here's the perfect example. He tested 2 headlines for what would become a legendary book. The first was clever but vague, a fascinating new approach to human relations. Total flop. The second was crystal clear and benefit driven, how to win friends and influence people. And the rest is history. The data does not lie. Clarity crushes cleverness every single time. Now let's bring it home. I want you to stop thinking of this as a reading list. Think of it as a financial asset. Seriously, this is your $50,000 unfair advantage in the marketplace. There are 2 paths you can take. After a bunch of courses, you're left with a folder full of templates and formulas that, let's be honest, might not even work for your specific situation. But after reading these books, you don't have formulas. You have principles. You can build your own frameworks. You can adapt to any market. You can build a resilient, future-proof skill. So what's the real ROI? A conservative estimate is an extra $50,000 in your pocket over the next 3 years. That is an incredible return on a few $100s worth of books, especially when a single course can cost over 10 grand. While everyone else chases shiny objects, you'll build a timeless skill that pays dividends for your entire career. So where do you even start? Don't get overwhelmed. Take one simple first step. Read Scientific Advertising by Claude Hopkins. It's short, it's in the public domain, so it's free. And I promise it will fundamentally change the way you think about marketing forever. It all comes down to this. You can spend the next 6 months scrolling shorts and getting dopamine hits from quick tips, or you can invest that same time into building a skill that could literally change the trajectory of your life.